Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Holy moly, Batman. What can I say? It just keeps on getting better. You know, a couple weeks ago I was saying how it feels almost like groundhog election season, because basically the same exact trend that we experienced between Donald Trump and Joe Biden in the polling data is what we're seeing between Trump and Kamala Harris. It feels almost identical. At first it's real competitive, but the more time goes by, the more it's looking like it's not even gonna be close. Now again, that's not a prediction, that's just data analysis. It's possible that all the numbers are wrong, or at least wrong within the margin of error, and actually Kamala Harris runs away with it. You know, like they say, anything's possible, although I'd have to admit, in that scenario, I'd have a lot of freaking questions, I'll tell you that much. But anyways, it's possible the data's off, but that's not really the conversation we're having at this point. If we're just looking at the pure numbers, if we're looking at the averages and where this election is going, it's looking like it's not even gonna be close. It feels almost as if we're right back where we were with Joe right ahead of the debates. The conversation at this point is less about all eyes are on the state of Pennsylvania and more, holy frickin' moly, Donald Trump might win 312, 325 electoral votes. This thing might not even be close. It might be a red landslide like never seen before. And that prediction that was made by the top pollster at Rasmussen reports that Donald Trump might win the general popular vote, well, they might have been onto something. Let's have a conversation about what's going on here. Let me show you guys the latest data coming out of Atlas Intel, the most accurate pollster over the last couple of election cycles. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, so take a look at this. 2024 national polling data between Trump and Harris. Of course, we've seen this a million times before, but yep, you're probably noticing what I'm noticing, a complete shift. I mean, a monumental shift. We went from Kamala Harris is running away with this, getting +6, +7 leads. I think there might have even been a poll where she was up by 8, although that poll's not on the RCP average because it's probably from an absolute crap pollster. But anyways, you know, just a little while ago, look at this, +4, +5, 5, 3, 6, 4, 5, you get the message. Kamala Harris took the lead, and now, well, it's a completely different story. Kamala Harris is totally stagnated. Look at her top end here. She just hasn't been able to push past 49% in the head-to-head national matchup. Meanwhile, Donald Trump continues to trend upwards. And now the race is neck and neck, but I don't think the graph really shows the whole picture because a lot of these results are a little bit outdated at this point. A lot of this data was collected ahead of Kamala Harris's horrible Fox News interview. You know, what a difference a week can make, I guess we could put it that way. And now with the latest batch of polls, I mean, just take a look. The numbers speak for themselves. This race is shifting, and shifting big time. And the best part about this, these 5 recent polls, well, pretty much all of them, except for the Fox News poll, are some of the most accurate pollsters in the game. Rasmussen Reports, Emerson, TIPP, Atlas Intel. Those are some of the best names in the game. And they're all clearly shifting in one direction. Donald Trump is up, and not just up by a little bit. What do you think this means? It means Trump's on pace to win the popular vote. That is insane. That's never even entered the discussion in previous election cycles. It's always been, well, we know Democrats are going to win the popular vote, but the hope is that Trump's going to make enough gains in some of the swing states to win the Electoral College. The thought process was that a Republican could never win the popular vote because of New York and California. Well, it might frickin' be happening, and here's the thing. Common knowledge, as we've been saying forever, if Democrats expect to win the Electoral College, they usually need to be ahead quite significantly, like minimum 4 to 5 points. Kamala Harris needs to win the popular vote by 4 to 5 points just to stand a chance in the swing states. That's the general consensus, general knowledge. Now, obviously, you get where I'm going with this. What happens if Kamala Harris loses the popular vote? Well, it could mean swing state mayhem for the Democrats. Donald Trump might win every single swing state. That is a serious possibility here. And like we always say, the current polling outlook might not be telling you the whole story. Just quickly moving on from national results here, to really get the whole picture, we have to do a couple things. Firstly, we have to look at the swing states, and secondly, we have to account for the average margin of error. Sure, you got these, ±3 points, ±2 points that comes along with the polling results that are being released by these firms, but that's not the margin of error that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the margin of error between the RCP average and the actual final results from the 2016 and 2020 elections, respectively. This is where things start to get really interesting. As you see on screen here, we got all the major swing states and the current RCP averages. Trump is leading in every single state by very small margins, but the next column is what's important here. Those numbers are the average errors from from 2016 and 2020 polling data ahead of the election. And you'll notice it's all red, right? What does that tell you? That means that the polling error went in Trump's favor in every single state, from anywhere from 0.055 points all the way to 8.35 in Michigan. And so if we do some very simple math here and apply that same average polling error that underestimates support for Donald Trump so incredibly to each and every single state, well, look at the results. Trump is expected to win in every single state, but not just win big. And that's where very quickly the election prediction goes from this thing's real close and it could go to pretty much anybody. It's all within the margin of error to a different kind of analysis where Trump simply just runs away with it. Not even close. 300 plus electoral vote landslide, a true red wave that not only might win him the White House, but might have some serious reverberating effects, a shockwave, if you will, down ballot. You know, Kari Lake's trailing her opponent Ruben Gallego, according to most of the polling data, but if the polling data is significantly wrong, the Senate race in Wisconsin becomes competitive. All of a sudden, we go from a tight election to Donald Trump winning in a landslide in the House and the Senate, either staying red or going red. And now look, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I'm not sitting here saying that that's exactly what's going to happen. It's not a prediction, although I probably will end up making a prediction video ahead of the election just because I find it's fun. I got a lot of flack for the prediction video that I made in 2020, but hey, I'll say that, there was a lot of circumstances at play in that election. I'm going to end up doing it just because if I'm right and, all the polls were wrong, it's going to be fun to revisit that. But anyways, tangent aside, I'm not here making an official prediction that Donald Trump is guaranteed to win 300 plus votes. I'm just saying this is the basic, thought process that I think a lot of people are applying when analyzing these results. Some of the best polling analysts on X seem to have a pretty similar line of thinking. Eric Doherty, who's a guy that we've been referencing a lot on the channel recently, released 2 maps. Here's the electoral map based on Atlas Intel's head-to-head state polling. They're showing a 269 to 269 tie, but that's if you just take their polling results on face value. But then following that map, he released this one, election forecast based on the most accurate poll of 2020, again, applying the average error and giving those bumps to Trump. It's a completely different look. Trump all of a sudden wins 323 electoral votes, even taking the state of Minnesota. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Likely not. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, and honestly, the polling data in Minnesota has never really been so off the mark with final results like we see in Michigan and Wisconsin, for instance, but pretty much you get the point. There's a possibility that the polls are significantly wrong and people understand this, and they're making it a part of their calculations, and I don't blame them. The polls tend to be quite trash. There's the phenomenon of the secret Trump voter, and then of course there's the undecided voters who are eventually going to split or bite the bullet and, vote for one of the 2 candidates when actually stepping into that voting booth. And in the end, those 2 phenomenons, well, they play in Trump's favor. So given the current outlook, if the polls are even off by a little bit, if they're underestimating Donald Trump's support by even a little bit, electoral landslide. But if they're underestimating Kamala's support, well, then she wins by a very slim margin. I don't know. I'm more comfortable saying the polls are underestimating Trump than Kamala. I'm more comfortable with the stance that Trump voters are more enthused and more ready to really swarm the polls. And I think we're getting a lot of data in terms of the early voting data that might be suggesting that. And so this thing, well, it's going in the same direction that the Joe Biden versus Trump election was going. Red wave electoral landslide territory. But of course, we'll have to see exactly what happens. Who knows? Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.